Dan, I took a trip into town a couple days ago, and I happened to notice out in front of the dog psychologist office.
Okay.
Yeah, there was sitting in the parking lot was a Prius, and on its roof was a pink kayak.
Oh, boy.
And my thought was, what's Dan doing here in my hometown?
I brought my dog down because he's been having some issues.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, no, that wasn't me, unfortunately. My dogs
Okay.
do not need psychiatrists.
That's my go-to joke when someone's telling me something, preposterous. I go, "That's the craziest thing I've ever heard." I remember when I was telling my dog psychologist that.
They are a real thing, though, aren't they? I think there actually are people who, because I know one time we had a dog that when we took it to the vet, they talked about separation anxiety disorder that this dog had. And I was like, what? But yeah, I've never been to a psychiatrist for my dog.
I just heard that the other day. Someone said their dog had that disorder where they come home and their entire house is ripped into pieces.
Yeah. We had two dogs at the time. And if we took one dog away and the other one stayed home, it was crazy. Separation anxiety disorder.
Yeah, but you would just never get rid of the dog, though, huh?
No. That is also what I worry about when we don't have an episode come out for the Wood Hounds. I worry that the Wood Hounds might have separation anxiety disorder from not hearing an episode.
That's just the way you are. You are always thinking of the other person, Dan.
Yes, that's right.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And that makes you a loyal guy. And that's why you would never give away your dog, because you're loyal to the dog. And I don't know, aren't you loyal to steel chainsaws?
Well, I guess maybe to a certain degree. I don't know if I would. I mean, I only have steel chainsaws. So I guess maybe I am.
But why is that? Isn't it I don't have any steel chainsaws, never a one. Don't they run different chains that you can't put on to a Husqvarna or a Craftsman or an Echo? Aren't they proprietary to steel?
I'm not even sure. One thing I do know is I mostly run steel because I am a man. And so I think that answers why you run Husqvarna.
Yeah. They fit nicely in the trunk of your Prius.
Yes. I'm not sure about the chain. I don't know. I'm not a one of those, I guess, tech when it comes to the chainsaw parts and all that stuff. I will full out admit right now I don't know much about that stuff. I get the steel chain, I put it on, it cuts, I take it off, sharpen it, I put it back on.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I wonder, I hear people in our kind of hobby, okay? Our kind of business, our area of interest here, firewood, trees, timber. There's people that have brand loyalty in that. People only run steel chainsaws or Husqvarna or Echo.
Yeah.
I wonder, because you obviously hear that in automotive, Ford, Chevy, Dodge, whatever.
Yeah.
But how prevalent do you think it is in firewood and firewood machines? Is there this entrenched and robust culture of brand loyalty in firewood?
I don't know if it's so much loyalty. I think it's more like just the fanboy syndrome where people run what they run, and they enjoy giving the other people a hard time, just like in the automotive, Ford, Chevy, Dodge type of game. I mean, I think maybe in automotive it's a little stronger, but I'll be honest with you. Like if I needed a chainsaw, if all mine were down and I needed a chainsaw and the only one I could get would be a Husqvarna tomorrow, I would probably go get that. And then, you start it. Well, if you can get it started, then when you start it, it will, it still cuts wood.
Yeah. So you don't have any bumper stickers that say, like, I would rather push my Chevy than drive a Ford. You don't see those kind of bumper stickers on chainsaws.
I don't think so. I mean, maybe there's some people who are that entrenched with their brand, but it's not me.
I don't know. I think that there is out there with chainsaws, but with log splitters and all, there, when I think of like all of the brands that are out there, they're all pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's not like, there's some that are just subpar or not in the same league, but they all like fit their own market and they all do a good job. I think of Easton Made, Wolf Ridge, Timberwolf, Splitfire,
Log
All Wood.
All Wood, yeah.
Logwood, the Super Splitter, all of them. I think they're all good.
Yeah.
But is there brand loyalty? Do you see it? Is there like on your live streams, do you see debates that take off like that?
Oh yes. There definitely is. I mean, there's people who have their machine of choice and, they kind of get together and it's the same thing. I mean, I don't think a lot of it's like, I think a lot of it is just banter back and forth and the ability to do that. Like if you have an Easton Made machine, you can give the Wolf Ridge guys a hard time, or if you have a Wolf Ridge, you can, I think that's more where people just are having fun. But again, if there was a commercial firewood operation that had an Easton Made and the next day they needed a new splitter and the only one available was a Wolf Ridge, they'd probably end up running the Wolf Ridge. You pull the lever, it splits the wood.
Yeah. So it seems to me, I have more experience with Easton Made. I've run them all, but there's a lot of similarity in the performance level. They're all well made to where they feel like they're going to last forever. But I also do see a healthy level of competition amongst them where, you think of like the vertical wars that had gone on, it started with Power Split or, the vertical ones. And then Easton Made put out one, and then Wolf Ridge made one that refined it, and Easton Made had to respond. That's like healthy competition. That is kind of like the fun part of it, where they are all competitors and they respond, to a challenge.
Yeah, I think that is what is great about the different brands and the competition and just keeping the products, up to date and up to the demand of the people using it. And that's where I don't think a lot of people who do get entrenched in these brand wars back and forth, like, I know people are die hard on one or the other. And I don't think they realize that without the other, their brand of choice would suffer. Like you want those competition, you want that going on between brands.
That is from my relationship with, for instance, Andrew Easton. The one thing you have never heard Andrew, you never hear him say anything bad about the other guy. He has a lot of respect for all the other companies. And I think that just reflects in the way really the whole industry is. You don't hear people out there bad mouthing each other, but they want to clobber them in competition.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's like I said, I don't know. I know it's people have a lot of fun with it back and forth, the banter between brands. What would be interesting to see if you could break down, like with the chainsaw, like how many steel users have Easton Made, or how many Husqvarna users have wolf rage, and like, is there any correlation there?
Yeah.
I think that'd be
Interesting.
kind of fun to see.
Uh-huh. Well, I have my own bias because I run the Yappa firewood processor. It's just, my first purchase of a firewood processor was a Dyna. It was a Dyna 12. And this was back in the day when they were affordable. And it works great. And I sold it to a guy who sold it to another guy, and I understand it's still just cranking out wood. It just wasn't the right machine for me. And that's when I had stumbled upon the Yappa. I had a list of things in my head that I needed in a processor, and the Yappa had everything that I needed. And it came down also to it had to work from right to left. That was just because of the way my yard was set up. So if I needed it to work the opposite direction, I'd have never bought the Yappa. But anyhow, I started my relationship there with them, and now I like the Yappa. I have met the people that build them, and there is that connection. And it seems like with YouTube and the new style of marketing that the firewood industry has really embraced, with personality type content, where you kind of know Andrew Easton, you kind of know Chris Wolf, you kind of know um, Austin Roberts from Log Ox. You kind of know Matt Timmons from Timberwolf. It's that connection that you have, and I think that's the kind of stuff that builds that loyalty. Because if there is a lot of like a blob of performance where all of the machines kind of fit within that blob, that circle of what they can do and how long they're going to last, it comes down to maybe that personal connection. Where and then they're all out at these trade shows, and if people get to these trade shows, you meet them, you meet the guy that invented this in his garage, and you meet the guy that you see on YouTube standing in front of his one machine and showing it off, and that kind of builds that loyalty. And if you do want to trade it in, you kind of maybe stick with the same brand.
It would be interesting to see what some of if you could go into the mind of like someone like you just mentioned, going to a trade show, they need a log splitter. They go around and they see them all. Like, what ends up being that one factor that tilts them to one instead of the other?
Yeah.
Because it would be a tough decision to make. I mean, like you just mentioned, if you go and meet Andrew, if you go and talk to Chris Wolf or Bob Nelson or Matt Tim, if you talk to all these guys, they're all great people. They all are going to give you great customer service.
Yeah.
And the machines all work great.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Maybe it would come down to availability, price,
Yeah.
A lot of times too, with shipping or whatever, it just happens to be in this part of the country, and you can save a few $100 by buying it right now and buying this brand right now,
Right.
Yeah. When I think of brand loyalty, I think of my dad, so he grew up in West Virginia. His first car he bought off his neighbor for like $20. It was an old Ford. And then he traded it in, and it just happened to be another Ford. So Dad started driving Fords. And when he drove and moved the family up to Ohio, the joke was he was on his way to Cleveland, but his old Ford broke down in the Mahoning Valley. So he decided to build his house here. And the Mahoning Valley is a General Motors valley because at the time, we had Packard Electric, which became Delphi. We had the GM plant, which we had the vans, the Chevy vans made there. And then the Lordstown plant, which made the Impala, to the Vega, to the Cavalier, to the Cobalt, until they moved it out of the country. So everyone in the Mahoning Valley drove GM cars except my family. We drove Fords. We were the only Ford family that I knew of in my hometown. And we just drove Fords. That's just the way it was. And then as I got older, all I drive are Fords. I drive Ford trucks. Well, we buy Ford cars too, but now it's time for us to buy a new car, and Ford doesn't make cars. They make SUVs and trucks, and we don't want an SUV. We wanted a car. We wanted a sedan. So what do? Am I supposed to be loyal to Ford and not get the type of vehicle that we want? versus the loyalty that Dad had to Fords and me carrying on the family tradition. That's what loyalty means to me. And then you think about what's going on with the firewood businesses, the machinery. There could be your son. You've had your first purchase was a Wolf Ridge, and then you've had the Easton Maids. Maybe you're just confusing your son now, Dan.
Yeah, well, that's by design. I mean, that's what I do as well to everyone out there. That's kind of why I put myself in that position, because I didn't want to be that determining factor, like to that person at the trade show when they say to Chris Wolf, "I'd love to buy your machine, but I saw that guy at Back 40 Firewood had one, so I'm not going to." So this way, if I have a whole bunch of them, they can't just it doesn't narrow it down to everyone else. It's like, whoa, he's got an
They can't blame it on you.
Yeah,
they can't blame it on you. So I have been asked by other companies, to run their machines. And then I'm not saying that the answer is not no. I am under no contract or no agreement or no nothing with Yappa. I don't work for them. I don't work for any of the importers. I don't get paid by them. I get nothing. All right. I bought my machines and there they sat. But I met the guys, and Lowry, one of the big wheels, the big cheese, I call him for Yappa. I like the guy; he's fun, and it's hard for me, to go to a different brand just because of that.
Yeah,
yeah. It's not just the machine to me. There's like a personal connection.
Yeah, I can see that. I understand that, and I get asked the question about why I run multiple machines from different companies, and that's where it kind of turns to where the brand that I am most focused on is my own, and it's about creating content. So like, I am not a first firewood producer. I create content with the subject matter of firewood, so it helps my brand to work with Easton Made, Yappa, Wolf Ridge, Timber Rock, like whoever. Like that's so it's a little.
And that's where I say that I am a firewood delivery service first.
Yes.
And then a YouTube channel second. So maybe that's why you don't see a wide variety of different machines on my channel, because I got to have the right machine, and the machine I have, I've never had to resplit nothing.
Right.
What comes off that knife. And I like it like that. So if I were to entertain another machine, I have standards that have to be maintained,
Yeah. You have needs that you need to meet for what you are doing, which is different than what I'm doing. And I think that's sometimes where people can kind of get confused when they only think of the firewood industry as like YouTube, like, all you guys on YouTube. Well, no, it's guys on YouTube, but each guy on YouTube has got different reasons or different things they're doing with their business and with YouTube.
Yeah. Guys and gals.
Guys and gals. Women and children.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyhow, it was just something that came to mind. I was going to razz you about your steel chainsaw. And I have Husqvarna and Dolmar, but that is because they run the same large Husky mount, so all the bars are interchangeable. But then there might be a new kind of a chainsaw coming onto my channel here in the coming videos, so stay tuned to that. Yeah, my prized possession is my Dolmar 7900, which is 2 feet underwater, but it seemed to get through it pretty good. It runs fine. My Husqvarna was under the same amount of water, and there's something going on with it. I don't know. But then talking around and then meet some people at the International Firewood Expo, and there might be a new chainsaw showing up here, and maybe we can start a new level of brand loyalty. We'll see.
Ooh. Yeah, and I'm not like advocating for anyone to follow that I only run steel and you should only run steel. I mean, we need people out there to run Husqvarna because we always need somebody to make fun of. So if people don't do that and everyone switched over to steel, that wouldn't be possible. So, you find what works for you, and I guess you can develop that brand loyalty because it is fun to, banter back and forth, but at the end of the day,
but for some of the things, it's not banter. For instance, the A.M. Leonard wheelbarrow is the greatest wheelbarrow in the world. Why would you want anything else?
Well, I've never used one, so I guess I don't know.
They were at the International Firewood Expo.
Yeah, I've never like really used a wheelbarrow in general.
That's because you are just a hobbyist.
Oh, yes.
If you were a legitimate firewood business, you would be seeking the greatest wheelbarrow in the world, and it's the A.M. Leonard.
Yeah, well, getting back to what I talked about earlier, like where I don't know anything about the steel chains and all that, I know there's going to be people out there saying, oh my God, I can't believe that guy is sitting there on a podcast talking about firewood and doesn't know what size chain fits on what chainsaw. And the thing to keep in mind for everyone out there who may be in my position is it's okay to not know. Like, you don't need to try to be an expert on everything, and you don't need to come across and try to be something you're not. And that's what I am. I'll tell you that I don't know, and I have no problem saying that.
Yeah. That's my most frequent reply is, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. And I think too many people don't. I think too many people try, or like they don't want to admit that. And that's, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. We should title this episode, Don't Follow Me, I'm Lost.
Isn't that your bumper sticker?
Yeah.
I know you've said that. You have a bumper sticker. Speaking of bumper stickers.
That would be the title of my biography. Don't Follow Me, I'm Lost.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Dan. Well, this was fun. And what made it more fun is that I am sitting in the air-conditioned living room here of my house because it is an oven outside, man. Whew.
Well, and it's a big holiday weekend coming up, so
oh wow,
if you're going to be out in the heat, I got baked yesterday. You can probably see I look like a lobster. I was out in the sun. I overdid it, but yeah, if you're going out this coming weekend, drink lots of fluids.
I can remember past 4th of July's where they've canceled the fireworks display because it was just too dry. The ground's too dry. They were worried about, grass fires and stuff. Not this year. Oh boy, not this year. It's just rain. You thought it rained at the expo. It's been that way every day since. We've only just had a few really nice dry days, and the ground is wet. It's affected my ability to get over to the woodshed, because I got to drive my truck across the yard. It's too soft, man. Just rain. It doesn't stop. Rain, and hot.
Yep. It's either raining or it's hot. We've had the same thing.
Yeah.
Rain
and
or
that
hot.
really does affect my production because I don't work in either one of those types of conditions.
You're going to have a lot of catching up to do come this fall.
Yeah. I'll be selling firewood futures instead of the actual firewood. I'll be selling the rights to firewood in the next 6 years.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Create that demand and get people signing up early.
Let's hear it for the inventor of air conditioning, though. Oh boy.
Yep.
How did we ever get through life without it? I grew up in a house without air conditioning, and I don't know how we did it. Our first car with air conditioning was a 79 Thunderbird. So, we had all of our family cars up until then, no air conditioning.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you guys were taking a lot of drives around town when it was hot, so you wouldn't be at home. Just go ride around in the car.
Yeah, the first car I remember when I was a little boy was a 65 Galaxy convertible. And then we had a 73 LTD. which LTD is an acronym for Large Trunk Department, had the largest trunk in the history of the automobile. And then the 79 Thunderbird.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's how long that those cars lasted back then. But air conditioning, what a great invention.
Do you have your favorite brand of air conditioners?
Yeah, the ones that had R12 in them, they're a lot colder than these new style.
Where is your brand loyalty lie with air conditioners?
Yeah. The ones that work.
Right.
Yeah, that's the ones. Yeah. All right, Dan. Well, this was fun. What do you think? Let's strike up the band. Huh?
Yep. Strike it up.
All right. The band has been strucken. And let's tell everyone out there who is sitting in the air conditioning, I hope, to please give us a 5-star review and help out the Wood Hounds podcast.
Yeah. Find us on all your major streaming platforms. And again, have a safe and enjoyable 4th of July for those celebrating coming up here this weekend.
Yeah.
And we'll see you back here next week.
So let's tell everyone out there to be
loyal
and don't be...
Oh, gosh. I don't know. Don't be.
Not loyal.
Not loyal. Okay.
You got to get up pretty early in the morning to keep up with me, Dan. And stay
safe
and have
a great day.